Revise for 2022. These are keto mistakes you absolutely need to make sure you're not making. Things are always changing, especially with keto. We're learning new things. We're learning new science. We're seeing new research, which means we have to sort of evolve in our way of thinking. So without further ado, let's just jump right in. Number one new mistake for 2022 is not getting enough monounsaturated fats. It is not hard to replace a coconut oil with an olive oil. It is not hard to replace some kind of other saturated fat with maybe an avocado or some avocado oil. Trust me when I say that there is a huge beneficial factor to driving up your HDL levels with these kinds of fats. Okay, replace some fats, replace the processed stuff, replace the seed oils with some of these fats. If you're not doing that in 2022, you're getting left behind because all the research is going that direction. Number two, based on interesting research that came out in 2021, is not taking a break periodically and letting your body have carbs. Okay, this sounds crazy, but it's because of glucose intolerance. If your body gets used to only using fats as a fuel source for a long period of time, your mitochondria become so adapted to that that you develop a little bit of glucose intolerance, meaning that when you do have carbohydrates, your body almost acts as though it's insulin resistant. It sounds scary, but it's something that is quickly reversible and very easy to fix. What you do is every 3 months or so, just take 1 to 2 weeks of coming off of keto and go paleo or do something so that your body still has a chance to upregulate what's called the mitochondrial machinery to utilize carbohydrates. You don't want to lose the ability to process carbohydrates. That's not good either. You want to be metabolically flexible. Number three is fearing protein. Okay, this is so 2016. We used to think that protein would kick us out of keto. We now know that protein should be a priority. Okay, it's better to have too much protein than it is to have too much fats for multiple reasons. But for one, protein is much harder to convert into fat than fat is. So if you overeat protein, it's less damaging. But protein also does not kick you out of ketosis. We used to think it would create glucose and kick you out of keto. Not the case. Prioritize the protein. Do not fear it. The next one for 2022, not getting enough fiber. Okay, vegetables, flax, chia. Some of the keto community rains on the fiber parade, but you have to make a very clear decision. Are you going carnivore and not eating any fiber whatsoever? Or are you doing keto where you should still have fiber? No in between. There's no way, shape, or form is it good to restrict fiber unless you are going all the way, okay? So flax, chia, because it's gonna support that microbiome, which, believe it or not, directly has an impact as to how we utilize fats and carbohydrates in the body. Very, very, very important, okay? Also, there is a link below if you want to check out a company called Love Good Fats. Okay, they are a bar that is a fat-based bar, so it's keto friendly and it's high fat, but it also has really cool prebiotic fibers in it as well. A very delicious bar. They're not just focused on being keto, they're focused more on getting people off of sugar. So if you're newer to keto, it might be a really good thing for you. They have them at Whole Foods, they have them at Sprouts, but there is a link down below for you to get them directly and save a few bucks. So they have their chewy nutty bars, which are super good, and then they have their original bars, which I love their lemon bar. That is my favorite one. So that link is down below in the description to check out the Love Good Fats bars. The next one is not monitoring glucose. So important, okay? People think about ketones, they measure their ketones. Measure your glucose because your glucose is going to be a proxy for what your insulin levels are doing. If your glucose is spiking, your insulin levels are spiking, which means your ketone formation is less, okay? I would not say it's more important to monitor glucose, but it is for me. I think it's a better indicator. So track your glucose, don't just track your ketones. Next up, too much saturated fat. Not because it's bad for you and things like that, but because there's no nutritional value in it. So 20% of your total fat intake can be saturated fat. The rest should be good monounsaturated and polyunsaturated fats. So only 20% of your total fat should be saturated fat, simply because above and beyond that, it's a waste of space. It's not that it's causing you a detriment, it's that you're not extracting nutritional value from it beyond that point. The next one is not occasionally working out with carbohydrates in your system. What? Okay, I'm a fan of training fasted. I'm a fan of training just in a very low carb state too, obviously. But occasionally, once every 1 to 2 weeks, eat an apple or something before a workout. What this does is it still tells your body how to use carbs as a fuel source, because occasionally it's good to work out under a carbohydrate load so that your cells still know how to utilize carbohydrates as an exercise fuel source. Trust me, it will make you more diverse in your workouts, and you'll find that the workout that you did have a small amount of carbs, like an apple or something before, you're gonna feel like Superman. The next one is fearing fruit, okay? It's old school. We don't need to be as afraid of fruit as we used to be with keto, but there is a limit. I would not recommend consuming more than like 15 grams or 20 grams at the very most of carbohydrates from fruit, and try to opt for lower glycemic things like berries, okay? Raspberries, blackberries, strawberries, blueberries, they're perfect, and you can have a quarter cup, half a cup of them, and you'll be fine. And it's going to give you that mental reprieve that makes it, I don't know, feels like you can continue on with your diet a little bit better, right? The other thing we have to remember is fructose does not spike insulin. So the higher the fructose content of fruit, the better it is on keto, because you're not spiking your insulin as much, stopping ketogenesis. Next is not taking electrolytes. This one's been reigning true for a number of years. Okay, you lose sodium and minerals when your insulin levels are low. You need to replete them. Add extra salt if you're strict low carb. This next one I'm gonna catch some flack for, but you still need to count calories. A big mistake in 2022 is not counting calories and not tracking. Not just because every single calorie matters, but because you need to have a snapshot of where you are. Okay, you need to know if you're eating too much or if you're eating too little. If you're going to make this last, and here we are in 2022, we're in maintenance phase with keto, it's reached critical mass, people aren't necessarily learning about it now, they're trying to sustain. Still need to monitor calories. Thermodynamics and physics and math still matter. If you do not listen to that, you will be one of these people that ends up on a perpetual fluctuational weight cycle. Like, you're gonna be all over the place. Get an idea of where your calories land so that you have a baseline. Next up is not having gaps in between meals. So important. Do not keto snack. Do not keto graze. Don't KG. Keto grazing, that's not good. We need to have clear and defined meals so that when we do get the little insulin spikes, it has time to come down before our next insulin spike. Because all kinds of foods that we eat, even fats, will have a little blip in insulin. And when that happens, fat loss is slowed. So don't be grazing all day. Even if you have 5 or 6 meals a day, have very clear lines in between them. And lastly, monitor your triglyceride levels. Do not be numb to the fact that there are some times when our bodies just do not do well on keto. Quarterly triglyceride tests. Okay, go to the doctor, get a triglyceride panel, and see where they land. If your triglycerides are high, that is a very strong indicator that your body is not dealing with the fats well. It's not turning them into ketones, and for whatever reasons, triglycerides are pooling. And this can lead to fat accumulation, but it can also lead to a number of different things. And for whatever reason, it's not working for you right now. It's happened to me, and I had to take 6 months off, and guess what? Boom, right back, and I haven't had my triglycerides high since. So be very cautious of that, just so you can make sure you're in this for the long haul. I will see you tomorrow.